What's going on, everybody? Josh here with the VHS Files, and this is episode 63, and today we're talking about A Fistful of Dollars. A man with no name enters the Mexican village of San Miguel in the midst of a power struggle among the three Rojo brothers and Sheriff John Baxter. When a regiment of Mexican soldiers bearing gold intended to pay for new weapons is waylaid by the Rojo brothers, the stranger inserts himself into the middle of a long, simmering battle, selling false information to both sides for his own benefit. This was the first feature film of Clint Eastwood. Fistful of Dollars was directed by Sergio Leone. Leone probably best known for bringing the spaghetti western to the mainstream, and a highly influential director influencing the likes of Tarantino and Scorsese, amongst others. It was released in Italy in September of 1964. However, the Man with No Name trilogy did not make its way to the US until 1967. With a modest budget of between $200,000 and $250,000, this film went on to gross over $20 million worldwide. At this time in 1964, you would have been seeing movies in the theater such as Dr. Strangelove, My Fair Lady, Goldfinger, and A Hard Day's Night. Westerns is a big blind spot in cinema for most of us here at the VHS Files, so we were eager to dip our toes into the pool of Westerns and talk about one on the show. I had never seen this before, and neither had Eric. This episode will contain spoilers, harsh language, and adult content. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. And please make sure you're smashing that like button. Let us know you like our videos. Hit subscribe so that way you know when we're putting out new videos. Go on our podcast sites, write us a 5-star review. Follow us, share us with your friends, your family, and your coworkers. It's the best way you can support our channel. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at VHS Files Podcast. And now let's get to the show.
I think you guys think I should just start rocking the black cowboy hat, go for the whole Robert Rodriguez look on our
You're pulling it off. You're pulling it off as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know if it...
this hat is too small. It's really tight on my head. You're supposed to sit on your
I like it small. No, it looks good small. Smaller the better. I would get a smaller one even.
Hey,
just have it sitting on your head.
Like this.
Dance, clown.
I was going to bring my rifle in here and have it for a prop, but it's loaded, so no. All right, let's rock this damn show. It's kind of cool in here. I mean, I got this blanket on now. I'm getting hot, and I want to get this hat off my head.
All right, well, we're talking about A Fistful of Dollars tonight, a Western for the first time on this show. How's everybody feel about that, Jason? You go first. Tell me how you feel about watching a Western on the show.
Well, these two guys decided to do a Western. I grew up in the great state of Texas, or country, I call it. And I don't own a cowboy hat or anything. I had to borrow this, but I'm just doing it to poke fun at the whole idea of Westerns. But there are some out there in the world that I do like, but we're gonna have fun talking
for the people that are not watching on YouTube and you're listening to the podcast, Jason's wearing full cowboy garb for this episode.
Hey, I got my poncho blanket on over me. I don't have a steel plate shoved in here for the shots I'm going to take later for what I want to say about these movies.
That was a nice. See what you did there. That was a nice one.
And yeah, but the cowboy hat I'm rocking. Yeah, either that or I'm waiting for the new season of Yellowstone. This is my rip look. That's what I'm going with.
All right. Well, Eric, this was kind of just me and you forcing a Western upon Jason this week to watch. So tell me your background with Westerns and how you feel about them.
I don't have a huge background with Westerns. I mean, saw a lot of the more recent ones, historically speaking. As far as the really old stuff, not really. I remember it on TV here and there. But no, I didn't watch a lot of Westerns growing up, but I've had a renewed interest in them as I've gotten older. Yeah. And particularly the kind of where we're starting here in the 60s, where it's not sort of the, how would you describe like the older, like the 50s Westerns that are just a little more polished, or, like a little, cheesy, or these are a little, the lines are blurred a little bit as far as like morals and things like that. I'm more interested in that kind of stuff, and I've been trying to go back and watch some more of them, although I am rather inexperienced in the Western genre as a whole.
You're trying to get out of the old black and white Roy Rogers. Like the hero always wore the white hat, the nice shirt, and this. But like you said, with these movies you get into the 60s and 70s, they're more of a dirtier style Western, and Sergio brought that in. I believe he really helped bring that in, because you can see it still today. So,
I mean, from what I read about this so far, Sergio Leone was tired of that polished look in Westerns, and he wanted to do something a little bit dirtier, a little bit grimier, and kind of get to that sort of stuff. And I think he succeeds here. Westerns were a big part of my childhood, but probably for the same reasons as Jason. It's something about older folks, the older generation. I think this was the entertainment they grew up with, so they have that nostalgia like we do for the Goonies or any movie we've talked about on our podcast so far. So of course, like now I'm experiencing that with my friends' kids, of showing them the Goonies and Beetlejuice for the first time. We watched Beetlejuice for the first time on Halloween with them. So like it blows me away that some people don't know those movies, but the older we get, the more we get away from what we loved, and it goes on to a new generation. And I think that's the big thing with Westerns here.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Jason mentioned, he's sort of not a big Western guy because he had so much of it when he was a kid. And I think you're right. Our generation, I know you guys are a little older than me, but our parents were watching that stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it felt the same. I couldn't really tell it apart when it was on TV. It just all kind of looked the same. And I think I kind of resisted that just as a generational thing. And then now, as I'm older and I'm looking at film and I'm looking at this and that, there's been some great modern Westerns that I've really enjoyed. And now I kind of want to go back and, see the stuff that inspired those things.
Right. And I mean, like, I grew up watching the modern Westerns, so you had stuff like Young Guns 2. Jason happens to actually like Tombstone. That's probably his favorite Western.
Excellent film.
That's probably my favorite Western out of all of them.
And then, what really, I think a lot of people are going to say this because he is so popular now, but Tarantino kind of revitalized, like, he had that love for Westerns that influenced his filmmaking. And even a director that we talk about a lot on our show here with nostalgia is John Carpenter. I mean,
he loved Westerns.
John Carpenter's first handful of films really have kind of that Western vibe, and he still even interjected that later with like vampires, and even something like Ghost of Mars still has a cowboy like feel to it. It's just set in Mars, and it's a terrible movie according to Jason.
It's like according to Jason. Western and Ghost of Mars. Yes, they fit well together.
So yeah, you've got all of these filmmakers that are influenced by Westerns, but yet I grew up not liking them and not wanting to watch them because they were on TV all the time. Gunsmoke, Rawhide, all that stuff. And yeah, like I think the older I get and the more I get into cinema, you start to realize you've missed out on those aspects of film, and you kind of want to go back and see why Tarantino loves this genre of, spaghetti Western so much, and what it is that's special about it that he always talks about it. I'm kind of doing that right now with our buddy Nathan on our new show for New Eyes Only with James Bond movies. It's a whole aspect of film that I have never seen before, and I've reached that point where it's like, okay, now I think I really need to go back and get educated on all this stuff that I missed out on and is influencing all the popular cinema that I love. However, I don't know anything about any of it. So that's really my want to do this, especially talk about it on a podcast, and is just to kind of find out what it is about Westerns that was so special to these guys, and see if I feel the same way. I think as we talk about Fistful of Dollars here, I don't know if I'm there yet, because this movie can be a little slow in my opinion, but This is the first time we're talking about anything other than a decade of the 80s, 90s, and then 2000s. So we're going all the way back to 1964 to talk about Fistful of Dollars tonight. So, Eric, why don't you take us back in time?
We're sending you back. Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, Rock'em Sock'em Robots made their debut in 1964. Their names are Red Rocker and Blue Bomber.
Red Rocket?
Red Rocket.
Jason, don't interrupt me. Okay, this is my segment. You shut your mouth. Robots began having sanctioned fights after they were previously charged with battery. I'm pausing for laughter. Okay, the Munsters, the Addams Family, and Bewitched all came out in 1964. A departure from the perfect TV families audiences were used to. Speaking of witches, did you guys know that witches don't fart? Yeah, they cast smells. They cast smells.
Late
Anyway,
Halloween joke there.
I just had to include that. Anyway, very first Comic-Con was held in New York in 1964. The first ticket sold to the event was purchased by George R.R. Martin.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow, there you
weird.
go.
I mean, you know. Hey, Jason, you know what they call robots in Texas? Tex-Mex.
Don't make fun of my food.
Eric, that was the dumbest fucking joke you've ever told.
But yet Josh is about to fall out of the fucking chair.
Woo! Okay.
1964 gave us the Sharpie marker. That's pretty cool.
Damn.
Hey, you guys know what they call a robot horse? Oh, whoa, bot. And
Oh man,
and finally,
he really dropped the Sharpie on that one.
Oh. And finally, you can't talk about 1964 without mentioning the Beatles and the start of the British invasion. Interesting fact, the first use of audio feedback on a commercial pop record is the intro to this song. Hit it, Josh.
Fun fact, everyone, I've actually seen a Beatle live. I saw Paul McCartney about almost 10 years ago now.
That's
I
pretty
like
cool.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
We're talking about Beatles, right?
Cut this man's mic.
Is that it for 1964? Because you left out a pertinent fact for 1964.
Oh shit. Oh
I left
shit.
out lots of facts from 1964.
Uh,
Why, is that your birthday?
No,
old
I'm
bastard.
not that old. Hey, I just realized something. We're talking about a movie that's older than me.
Yeah,
Finally.
First, a very first on this show. You
Is this
old
our
fucker.
oldest movie ever? We did some old movies on the horror section, but this is definitely our
Oh,
oldest movie of the week.
Yeah,
Definitely.
What Halloween is 1978. That's the oldest movie we've done.
Is it? It probably is. I have to go back and look at this point. Yeah, I don't think we've done anything older than Halloween until now. So yeah.
Nice,
But
nice.
1964 is a thing to me because it's something that me and my mom share. The first year of the Ford Mustang came out, 1964 and a half.
Oh shit! Here he goes talking about fucking cars again.
Hey, it's a love affair that me and my mom share. I wish if I was a millionaire, I'd buy her the cherry red Mustang with the white top and the white leather seats.
Ooh,
She'd be set forever.
I need air conditioning.
Yeah, you got a point.
I need air conditioning, guys. I love classic cars, but give me some AC.
Well, a lot of them actually had bolt-on AC.
Okay.
You can mount it up under the dash. It was like an aftermarket. Well,
Oh,
you can do
word.
that now. I don't know if they had it back in 1964, but now
You
for
can add it
classic
in there.
cars, you can add
Okay,
like
now you're talking.
a bolt-on AC system.
Now you're talking.
There's your car nerd talk for the day, folks. Thank you. This is Jason.
All right, that's enough. No more.
Car nerd talk with Jason.
Fart sound.
With fart sounds.
Are you
Okay,
casting smells over there?
Oh, you
He's
motherfucker.
casting a smell, all right. Little skunky smell.
So, Fistful of Dollars. One thing I find very interesting that in doing research about this movie before we get into it is how it's this unofficial remake of old samurai film Yojimbo.
Yeah. And I've not seen Yojimbo.
Neither
but
have I.
Now I really want to. I was I was looking into that too, and I knew that, but I did a little. Were you about to say something about it? Because I kind of looked into it a little bit.
No, I would. I mean, I definitely have some curiosity in watching it now, and that Criterion half off sales going on right now, so I may have to be picking that bad boy up. But yeah, I mean, I've only seen a handful of samurai movies. It's kind of the same sort of thing as westerns here, but I have seen Seven Samurai, which is apparently the Magnificent Seven. So I was always kind of baffled when I heard that all these western movies were based on old samurai movies. The fact that America sleeps on Asian cinema is lost on me because they make great films.
Well, the other interesting thing about that is that Kurosawa was taking inspiration from westerns and from western novels and things like that. So
yeah,
it's sort of this weird back and forth of inspiration, which is fascinating to me. I love seeing, particularly with music too, like seeing how music influences, from different parts of the world and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you have Yojimbo, which is influenced by American West, and then Fistful of Dollars is almost a direct remake, so much so that Kurosawa actually sued and won, receiving a portion of the profits.
He got $100,000 and 15% of what it made worldwide.
Yeah, so interesting stuff for sure. And that's another area that I want to get into as well, is the old samurai films and that kind of stuff. I mean, that right along with the western stuff, that era of film is so interesting to me.
Yeah, because isn't that the reason what took it so long to get to the U.S. was because of the lawsuit, I believe. Fistful of Dollars didn't come to U.S. cinema for like 3 years later.
Yeah, that's a real interesting thing with this, is it was released in 1964 in Italy and didn't make it overseas over here until 67. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to go back and look at this and really see, like, not only westerns but like Star Wars. Star Wars was kind of drew inspiration from the old samurai movies too. I think George Lucas has stated that Seven Samurai was a big influence on Star Wars,
and westerns were as well.
So I mean, yeah, it's crazy to me that I have no interest in this section of film that has inspired all this shit that I love. And the Beatles, it's funny that you picked them and played them for this segment, for this episode, because that was kind of my same foray with music. Is I was, you're born in a generation where it's all been modernized and they've added upon what was started by those artists. And then eventually I finally found the Beatles and went back and I wanted to watch I wanted to listen to everything the Beatles ever did, because I had just finally found where the genesis of the shit that I really loved came from. So ultimately, with wanting to talk about westerns on this show, which was a big argument between us on a text thread this week, is to try and dip into that a little bit. And Jason doesn't have a very good liking to westerns, but I kind of want him to get into that, what it is about them that's not appealing, and other than the fact that they were just shoved down your throat as a kid. I don't know if there's anything more than that, but.
I mean, that's the thing growing up here. I mean, the Western cowboy type of life is what you're pushed into growing up here anywhere in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, right. Those all the way up through the Midwest type states. But I mean, it was a fight to watch something else on TV other than reruns of all the old black and white westerns on TV, or because I was born in the 70s, so this is the mid 80s, and you still had people rewatching all the Clint Eastwood and John Wayne and all these other movies over and over again, and you're like, is there anything else on TV? So when you finally get to watch stuff like in the 80s, like Knight Rider and the A-Team and all this kind of stuff, you're like, I love this so much because it's not a Western.
There's technology.
Yes, there's something other than a horse. This guy's driving this cool black and red van around, and they shoot a million bullets but never shoot anybody.
And the car,
I want that van more than the Mustang, personally.
Yeah, I will definitely take the 18 van. Yeah.
But they had a fucking car that talked to you. I mean, how can anybody not want that?
Well, yeah, Kid is way cooler. Kid is cooler. And he can jump, which is cool. But I can see what you're saying. I mean, I grew up in Florida. I've lived in Florida my whole life, and I really just do not like the beach aesthetic. Right. Beach art, beach, like interior design for the beach, all this kind of stuff. It's just because I'm just around it all the time.
It's pushed in your face.
Yeah, you look at my house and there's no seashells. We don't have any fish or anything. I'm too around it too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can understand you being, having an aversion to that. And again, like, it's not like I'm some huge Western fan. I honestly, one part of what really started to push me into wanting to see the old Westerns, like you say, Josh, is Django, Hateful Eight, that stuff, but also Coen Brothers, True Grit, No Country for Old Men,
right?
Some of these like really good modern Westerns, that. And I can't get on this episode without mentioning Red Dead Redemption. The video game.
All right. Jason had his car segment. Okay, Eric, the video game nerd segment.
Okay, listen. So Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 especially, amazing games, and take a lot of inspiration from these films, obviously, visually, story-wise, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they're so immersive and so awesome. And I played the living crap out of both those games. And it really was like, okay, you had that modern Westerns coming out.
Well, I mean, hell, Walking Dead. I mean, we were really into Walking Dead when it came out. I mean, you were reading the comics before it came out, but like Walking Dead is basically a zombie Western set in a city. Like, I mean, if you look at all the aspects of it, it's just like a Western would be. You got zombies
you got Rick walking around with the cowboy hat on, and
Cowboy, he rides a horse, for Christ's sake.
He rides a horse.
He's got Atlanta. A 6-shooter.
Yeah, he's old school, but I mean, like I said, the thing with the Westerns, it was like that, but it influenced a lot of movies that I love. And what was funny is growing up and seeing, and I'm going to mention the movie because it's a scene from the movie we're talking about, but Back to the Future Part 3.
Yeah.
It's basically a Western, but it's a sci-fi Western. And that there's a scene in the movie toward the end with this shootout. I remember seeing that as a kid and going, I've seen that before, because I had seen all these movies and then rewatching, because this film, if this will die, is like it's a trilogy film. It's this, A Few Dollars More, and then The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. To me, they all kind of run together, and I get them confused of which is which. And I was talking to Josh about it on the phone, and it's like they run together. And then I realized watching this one, okay, this one I had probably seen the least, but I remembered that scene because it's what they redo in Back to the Future 3. So it's like it even influenced different kinds of movies through the years.
I was waiting for Ramon to fall in a pile of dookie. Didn't happen.
No, and that's the funny thing. Like I avoided Back to the Future 3 for a long time because it was set in the West, and I had no interest in wanting to watch something like that. Yeah, I mean, and it was when I finally did see it, it was my least favorite because it was set in the West. But now, like going back and watching that trilogy now, I think it's better than Part 2. Honestly,
it's definitely better than Part 2. Part 2 is
they're kind
really
of close.
The more I watch Part 2, the less I like it. I remember loving Part 2 mainly because of like the first half of it, or just really that. Yeah. But all that stuff with the future family is brutal.
Yeah, it's really convoluted and too many storylines, and then of course they start the multiverse in cinema there. So like,
that's where the MCU stole it. They stole it from freaking Back to the Future. That's it.
But I mean, I tried to dip my toe into the old Westerns a few years ago. I watched Once Upon a Time in the West.
And I haven't seen that one yet, but it's on my short list.
And I honestly, I don't remember a whole lot about it. It didn't leave that much of an impression on me. And I was a little bogged down by it because it's a slag. It's a kind of a slow movie. That's the only thing I'll really say as far as that movie goes is it moves pretty slowly.
As far as I can tell, a lot of these old Westerns are pretty long too.
Yeah. I was surprised when we put this one on and it's only an hour and 40 minutes. Cause I think Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is like almost 2.5 hours long or something like that.
Yeah. That one's longer. Yeah.
It's a long.
Yeah. And I've never seen any of these trilogies. So that's another thing. I want to at least get all of them in my memory bank. But I was worried going into this that I wouldn't like it and wouldn't have a lot to say because that one was so slow. But I think this one moves a little bit differently than that one does. And I was also worried about Clint Eastwood because, you hear the Man with No Name trilogy. Therefore, you think he's not going to have a whole lot of dialogue. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue here, but what he does have was more than I was expecting.
You see, my mule don't like people laughing. It's the crazy idea you're laughing at him.
So I was expecting him to just kind of grunt through the movie, but he actually does help like move the movie along. So it already exceeded my expectations in the fact that you get some dialogue out of him for the first half of the movie.
Okay, and this is the one thing I want. They call it the Man with No Name trilogy. He has a fucking name.
They call him Joe in this, yeah.
Yeah,
And
they give him a name.
And I think he's got somewhat of a name in all the other movies too, from what I've read. But yeah, I mean, I heard them call him Joe, and I was like, wait a minute, I thought he didn't have a name.
Yeah, he's listed as Joe on IMDb as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it says Joe or Man with No Name, and I'm like, well, he isn't a man with no name. You called him Joe. Hello. So is it the Joe movies?
The Joe trilogy?
Well, I think the Man with No Name thing kind of came later. I think it was originally the something else. It was there was another trilogy name for it, the Dollars trilogy.
The weird thing is there's some confusion as to whether the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly takes place before the Fistful movies. Or before the Dollars movies.
They're pulling one of those like retro sequel things like Indiana Jones did with
I don't
Temple
think
of Doom.
a whole lot of I don't think a whole lot of thought was put into it.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's really important, but people are looking at like dates on tombstones and stuff like that. So there was like tombstones in Fistful of Dollars dates this in the like after the Civil War.
Mhm.
But of course, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly has like some Civil War stuff in it, if I recall, and it takes place. It has everyone just looks at tombstones for dates, basically, and so it seems like it's set prior. It doesn't really matter, but
Well, I mean,
by the way, if you're listening to this, we are not Western experts.
Yeah, by no means.
I think people have determined that by now.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, hell, that's another thing I'll like. Now that you mentioned that, that's something I'll pay attention to when I get to the next two movies, is to see if it kind of leads in. Like, I love when something does something like that. Like, I remember in high school we were all into Pink Floyd, and everybody had gotten on this bandwagon that at the end of the wall, there's like somebody talking on a loudspeaker faint in the background, and that ends. And when you start the record over again, it continues that, and it's like the album is a constant loop. Yeah. Right. So I love when I hear shit like that. So now I'm going to be looking for like, do the events in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly lead to him approaching this town in Fistful of Dollars?
Yeah. We're not talking about Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but a lot more happens. This is a much smaller story than.
Yeah, I figured it was.
And of course it's longer, but I mean, there are like full on battle scenes, like military battle scenes in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's pretty cool. And another one that I had watched somewhat recently for the first time was The Wild Bunch, which is also quite long, but it is freaking epic. I mean, like so much shit happens. They have like massive like battle scenes, and I mean it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm into that. I like the no technology thing. I think growing up there was an excitement for technology. And we wanted robots and like more technology, and then now I have like technology fatigue. I want to go watch things before technology. I don't want to see cell phones. I don't want to see electricity or any goddamn thing.
Now we've become our fathers who watch movies and go, oh God, how the hell they would never be able to do this in the 80s. They wouldn't be able to call somebody. We've become our fathers, guys.
You guys have. I love all this stuff, so I will not be my father. So. Yeah.
Well, speaking of fathers, my dad has, because I've been trying to watch these older movies and nobody in my house wants to watch them with me. I mean, I just watched All Quiet on the Western Front, which is like 39. So, I mean, I'm like trying to dig deep and watch some older stuff. And fortunately, my dad's lives near me here, and he's willing to watch it with me because nobody else is. And it's been nice. We've been watching some old movies together, and so I've appreciated that. It's been nice revisiting stuff not revisiting, but
I like going back and watching the old black and white movies. There's a couple of old war movies. Was it the one about Sergeant York? I can't remember if that's what it's called, but I can never remember the name. I like those old movies set for back in after World War I, World War II area.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But it was just the Western it's just hard for me to digest because of being force fed it for so long. So
And anybody who typically listen to our show, you're probably thinking, this isn't how we normally do a show here, because I think this is going to be a little bit of a different sort of a show for us. Because, we talked briefly about an Almost Famous segment for this, and we don't really know anybody in this movie besides Clint Eastwood. So it would be a hard segment for us to pull off. I don't know, anybody in this movie other than Clint Eastwood.
I mean, I went through the whole list, and everybody is pretty, because that we haven't really talked about that part. This is the spaghetti Western type movie.
Right. We got a lot of Italian actors here that we don't know.
They're all Italian, but that's why they called it a spaghetti Western, because these movies were shot in Italy and Spain and in some parts of Europe. But that's where it gained the title. And like when I mentioned this to my dad that we were watching this movie, he says the good old spaghetti Western. And he had a couple of jokes about it, because back then they kind of didn't care for these because they were shot in foreign countries.
Well, I mean,
they like their good Americans shot out in California and Nevada and stuff like that. They didn't want something with a bunch of Italians playing Mexicans in this.
Yeah.
Well, if you've watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you definitely get people's opinions of that as well.
Right.
When everybody in here, like you said, you go through the list, you can barely write out their names because they're Italian, and even some of them changed their name to a more American style name. So when they put it up at the beginning of the movie for the credits, it was a different name, but it would be more pronounceable.
Yeah. And that's what's, because Ennio Morricone is the composer of the score here, who is prolific in film, period.
I love this score, dude.
But he went under Dan Savo. Like, they really didn't want to push that these were Italian made movies. So yeah, that was a big thing back then.
Yeah, well, I mean, because you got to admit, I mean, in America, we've had our ups and downs of being ugly and mean to people of different countries, Italians, the Irish, Spanish and stuff like that. So I think some of them kind of did that because they maybe didn't want to know that they were Italian.
People have stage names now. I mean, John Stewart that's not his. He has a Jewish name. I forget what it is, but yeah.
I mean, but we know Ennio now because like of his run in movie history. He gave us the Ecstasy of Gold, and that came out in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I mean, who doesn't know that? I mean, I was talking to Josh about it. I believe it's rated like #1 of the most recognizable movie themes is that music. And of course, like I told him, Metallica puts it on before every concert and have for 20 something years now.
Yeah. So, and I mean, so much so that Tarantino uses it in his films, and we've talked about The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing on our show, and Ennio Morricone was the composer on that movie. I mean, I believe John Carpenter and Alan Howarth did some of the score, but Ennio Morricone was the composer on that movie. So again, another aspect of Westerns that was very popular for him doing the scores, yet I have not delved into this side of cinema. It's crazy.
Well, not that, he won his Academy Award for a Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight. So, I mean, and like I said, when I was reading all this about him, I mean, I knew who he was because of the Ecstasy of Gold. I mean, who doesn't know that? But then you're going back through his whole movie catalog of things he's done music for. And then you go back and you hear, like, there's even parts of this movie you hear, I've heard this in a Tarantino film. Yeah. From this movie. Yeah. You can hear it and it's just like, oh, okay, now I get it. So,
and not only that, just some of the cinematography and direction, here sets is so kind of groundbreaking and interesting.
Yeah.
Sergio Leone had a great eye for a good shot.
And
there's some good stuff in this.
I love how wide everything is. He's like super wide. Things are just spread completely out. You have something on one end of the screen, something on the other, just completely, really just opening up. And while I agree there are times in this movie that, especially it's from the 60s, you're going to have some, a modern viewer is going to maybe find it a little slow at times. And the dubbing and the ADR stuff.
Yeah, I think that was a big.
It can get hard to follow at times. I on my Blu-ray, I put subtitles on because I was like, I just gonna put subtitles on. Yep. But they were did you get this? They were like stacked and like not your typical location. Did you have this problem?
When I watched it, it seemed to be fine. I wasn't having any trouble reading it. But if I didn't have subtitles on, I would have a problem knowing what exactly is going on in this movie for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was too distracting. I had too much shit on my screen, so I turned it off. And there were times where I was a little confused, but I never had any problem with what I was looking at. It always looked amazing, and the music was always awesome. So for that, I was on board for the whole, however long it is, because it looked great and it sounded great.
Yeah,
except for the vocals, except for
that's
the
what
vocals.
you're funny. You were talking about like
dialogue.
The dialogue that they stole this from an old samurai movie, and they still hadn't got the dubbing of English voices right, because we've always done that. Watching the old Kung Fu Samurais. I'm like,
that's what it is, Jason. You just solved the whole mystery, man. They did that on purpose because they were imitating
samurai films. This is what I'm saying. Old Kung Fu and samurai. Because I was like,
I'm going to urge you to not try to do
I can't do
the
it,
Japanese.
Man.
I'm going to encourage you to not try to do that.
No, I don't want to.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. But because in this, I'm watching it, and I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and I was just like, I'm trying to pay attention to this movie, but I cannot get past the point that the dialogue, the audio part is talking, and his lips have already stopped moving.
Or he could have picked the wrong town.
His big mistake, I think, was getting born.
You want any work? Looking like that, you could try being a scarecrow.
Yeah.
Well,
or the lips start moving and then the dialogue comes. So.
It's also strange when you have different people speaking different languages.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think there's more than just Italian and English here. There's some.
They have some German ones.
Yeah. So it's definitely weird when you got actors. I guess there was some real language barrier on set. I mean, Leone didn't speak English. Should we talk about Eastwood? I mean, did you guys see that he was not the first choice here? Because he wasn't a big.
No, they wanted Peter. They wanted Peter Fonda. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also Henry Fonda, actually.
Yeah,
and
Henry Fonda. Sorry.
And then also Charles Bronson turned it down. So this movie really, in many ways, made Clint Eastwood, and that's a pretty big deal. That's
really funny because Once Upon a Time in the West stars Henry Fonda and Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess apparently Bronson didn't like the script.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, the script isn't exactly knocking doors down, but I like the simplicity of the story. I even though I did get confused a couple times. I was
about to say the same thing.
I mean, there's a couple confusing moments. Particularly, my biggest confusion was when the sorry, I'm forgetting names right now. When the Baxter's son gets captured, I must have missed that. So like the exchange between the woman, the woman, what's her goddamn name?
Marisol.
Yeah, Marisol.
Yeah, Marisol. The exchange between Marisol and they're I guess is it Esteban? No. What's his name?
Esteban was a Rojo.
Yeah.
See, this is where we're gonna have problems.
Anyway, regardless, I got a little confused there.
It was Antonio.
Antonio, thank you.
Antonio.
Yeah. I never saw him get captured. I didn't understand the trade-off there. It didn't make sense to me. But I love the idea of a guy showing up to town. He takes a pretty quick read. I love how smart he is. Quick read of the situation. You got two dueling families or whatever. Play one against the other and just start making money. And
But if you don't mind doing a little killing, you will have no trouble finding someone eager to pay you.
I don't know. I love the overall concept. I know there's like some issues, but
I mean, it starts very simplistic, but I do find myself getting confused throughout the movie because, he's bouncing back and forth between these two smugglers in the town that are basically overseeing this entire town. And I'm always kind of wondering, like, what's his end game with all of this? Is it just to walk away with a fistful of dollars or
Yes. Yes, it is. That is his only motivation. Now he does apparently have, a some kind of morals, but I like how morally gray it is. I mean, he has no issue dropping 4 dudes right off the bat. He doesn't even know who they are. I mean, they arguably are decent fellows.
I mean,
they fucking shot at him and his mule, and they offended his mule. So I would go shoot them too.
That's true. They did shoot at him. They didn't shoot him. They just were
shot at him.
I mean, you know, in this.
Well, that's the first note I wrote down for this movie is they are just fucking trigger happy as crazy in Westerns, man, because this scene opens up with a child, like little child running across the yard, and they're just firing guns at him willy-nilly. And I was like, oh my God, dude, like that's an aspect of Westerns I never thought about. And it's just there's always guns. They always carry guns on them, and gunning each other down is such a big part of Western movies. And then you think about that aspect of it. It's just like, oh, they're just happy to fire a gun at a young child in the yard. Just like the disregard for human life is just crazy to me.
And what's fun when we're digging, like we see that, and that's kind of disturbing. But us today, we're a little desensitized to the things we see in movies and TV. But this movie, there's some parts of this movie, but they used to actually have a thing right before the movie would come on, letting the watcher know of there are violent depictions in this film.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And I'm watching this film and I'm like, where's the violence? I'm like, I understand it's 1967 or the 70s. I think this is when they showed it on TV. They had a thing they put up before. And I'm like, this is, there's way more violent movies in the 60s and 70s than this movie. And I'm just kind of like, I don't see the violence at all. Like this is almost PG-13.
Yeah.
Well, he gets beat up pretty good later. That's really the only time you get some actual blood and right.
Yeah. So
most people, when they get shot, they don't have any like squib action or anything like that.
Yeah, that was one of my notes.
That's one of my biggest things with this movie is a lot of people get shot, don't see a whole lot of bullet holes.
Yeah.
But the blood later like is pretty bad. It just looks like they threw red paint on their face, and
that's no different than Dawn of the Dead. I mean,
true.
We all love Dawn of the Dead. So, the blood's the blood's too red. It doesn't look real. It looks like paint or something.
Well, I'm the blood in Dawn of the Dead is not really my problem. Now my problem is the blue paint on like the zombies are just the zombies are all blue. That bothers me more than the blood does.
I don't know. I think that the blood looks more realistic in this than in Halloween 2 when it's all over the floor. When he drains the nurse, that literally looks like Rust-Oleum red gloss.
So here's my question about Marisol. She's being held captive here in the beginning. Like, is she?
Well, you kind of don't know that. I kind of don't feel like in the beginning that she's being held captive.
I kind of got that idea from the beginning. And is she like a sex slave for Ramon now or something? Like,
yeah, pretty much. He won her. Remember, they had a card game.
No, he didn't win her. He said the guy cheated.
And he took her because he cheated. Yeah.
And I feel like, especially for a movie that seems tame in a lot of regards, like Jason was just saying, like where's the violence? Like, I think they do a good job of coming across with like something like that, because I caught on to that, and like I watched it a couple of times, and I got it more on the second watch, but that first time around I was just like, what's her deal? Like, why is she just held up in this house? And then as the story moves along, you find out, but yeah, like the second watch, I was like, oh, so like, is this now his like sex slave? So yeah, it got me thinking this time.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't put that at the beginning. I just thought maybe Ramon was her husband, and he probably beat her. Wasn't a very good, he drank a lot.
And the other thing that's confusing is the dad and the kid are right next door to like.
That's the
they're literally
leave town.
Yeah,
he has to live across the street.
Like
across the street, man.
Yeah, the town line's right here. If you go over there, that's out of town, and I'm fine with that. I could just shoot you from across the street.
Yeah, I was a bit perplexed at that. I was like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay, I'll buy into it. The guy that Joe runs into, well, I'm gonna call him Joe, even though he's the man with no name. They call him Joe.
That's what I'm gonna refer to him as, Joe. I wrote it in my notes as Joe.
Joe's riding through town and sees the guy on the horse, and
What
on
about
the
the
back.
stranger? Couldn't we call him the stranger?
No, I'm calling him Joe.
I'm calling him Joe.
I'm calling him the stranger.
Okay, you do what you
Fuck
want.
you guys.
How about his name is Joe Stranger? Yo Stranger, Joe Stranger.
Mr. Joe Stranger.
Fuck you!
Bam! Thank you, Josh, for the Kevin Bacon cue. There we go.
But no, the guy that he rides past on the way into town that has the sign on the back that says "Adios, amigo." Is that guy dead?
I thought he was alive.
I think he might have been dead because
Or he was dying. How about that? He was maybe dying.
Because I was watching it the second time, and as he walks away from Joe, there's like a stick propped up behind his vest and like holding his head up.
Oh, I don't know.
So I would say if you have any interest in this, go back and look at that scene. I think that guy was dead.
Maybe he was.
Which I mean, I would have no problem believing that with what happens in this town. I mean, everybody's trigger happy, so.
Well, they're running out of people. I mean, and at the end of this movie is who's left in this town. I mean,
yeah,
the Rojos kill all the Baxters, right?
Right.
And then and then the stranger kills all of the Rojos.
The barkeep and the coffin guy are the last two left.
Yeah,
The coffin guy.
What's his name? Piperito?
Piperio. I don't fucking know.
Piperio, how are you saying?
I love that old
Guy.
dude.
I love him,
that
man.
guy.
He's
great.
like my favorite part of this movie, man.
Let's call him Caretaker. His name is Caretaker.
He's the Undertaker.
Yeah, Undertaker, Caretaker, whatever. He's tombstoning people. I don't know.
Well, the actor's name is Joe Edgar, so we can call him Joe too if we want to.
Call everybody Joe.
Yeah, everybody's
His name
Joe in
is
this
Joe.
movie.
Marisol's name is now Joe.
It might be less
Josephine.
confusing than us trying to pronounce all these names, to be honest.
Well, dude, well, their character names aren't that hard. You got Esteban, Chico, Marisol, Salvatina, or whatever how you say his name.
See, there you go. You're not doing a very good job of proving your point.
You blew it. You
Sorry.
blew it.
I was on a roll, damn it. I've had a couple drinks. I had to get through this.
You got cocky. Don't get cocky, kid.
But, this goes into this scene where he goes into the bar and he gets food and drink from the guy, and the barkeep tells him, you don't need to stay here. Don't worry about paying me for the food. I've realized that I like watching people eat and drink in Westerns. Because one of my favorite scenes from Django Unchained is when he and the dentist go in the bar in the beginning, and he starts pouring the beer, and he takes the stick and he wipes the foam off the top.
Yeah, the foam. Yeah.
Like, something of, and then I don't know what kind of stew it is they eat in every fucking Western I've ever seen.
Cowboy stew.
It's just always this bowl, and it's got hunks of potato in it, and they're just chowing down.
Dude, it's stew. Cowboy stew. I mean, I grew up with that. Chunks of potatoes, some corn, or not corn, but carrots,
maybe,
and
yeah.
a couple of chunks of beef. That's really about it.
Beef.
So,
They waste some food later in this movie. That dude grabs that big leg. What was that anyway? A goat or something?
that was a dog
gosh.
leg. That was a
Think so?
dog leg. They're in Mexico. Remember they supposed to eat dogs.
You think it was dog? Well,
I wrote down, is that a dog leg?
I think that might be
that shit.
I think that might be the grossest part of the movie, honestly. Because
That's the violence. Is they're eating a dog leg?
no, it's
That's
not whatever they're eating is fine. It's just the way he tears that leg off, and there's that hunk of skin hanging off of it, and then the way he eats it, and it looks greasy as fuck, and it just looks like, oh, dude, put some salt and pepper on that shit. It's not gonna taste good.
He doesn't eat it anyway. He throws it.
Yeah, he throws it at somebody. He's like, Jesus Christ. What's that guy's name? He's probably the worst guy in this movie.
That's Esteban.
Esteban
that
fucking
guy-
sucks.
He's the guy in every bad guy group that laughs too much.
Yeah.
He's the Cox of
At
this.
Man, when they're beating Joe up in the fucking
He's
wine
just
cellar.
giggling his ass
Oh
off.
my God, dude, I hate that guy. See, I was really confused once Joe sets up his little plan that he's going, he's playing both sides of the game here in this town. There's that whole scene with that army that comes through, and they're protecting the gold that they're bringing. And then all of a sudden, Joe goes to scope out the scene, and Ramon is there just gunning all these soldiers down. Yeah. I was really confused as to what was going on here. Like, this is where I was watching this movie and I was going, what? What did I just witness? Because I don't think it did a very
You hadn't
good
seen
job
Ramon
of.
yet.
Yeah,
hadn't seen Ramon.
And I don't think it did a very good job of letting me know that there was an ambush happening. Like it was just
that's the idea. It's supposed to surprise you, and then you see that there's all these American soldiers that are naked or in their undie pants, and you go, they dressed up like U.S. soldiers and posed as right. I mean,
because that's what was supposed to happen. Is the Mexican army was going to trade gold for U.S. guns, but Ramon's Rojo group guys, they went and took out the American soldiers, and stole their guns, and then stole the gold from the Mexican army.
It's a great Western double cross kind of thing. I like it. I love that shit. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like it. I was confused as to what was going on. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're supposed to be a little confused there.
Yeah, because like Jason mentioned, that's the first time you see Ramon, and you just see a guy that's in a military outfit, open fire on them, and you're like, whoa, what the hell is happening right now? Like, I was just really confused, but. Yeah, and we've set up that Ramon is supposed to be this excellent shot. Like he fucking never misses when he takes a shot. And I kind of like that they set up that lore here for how the movie ends up
foreshadowing.
Yeah, Mr. Foreshadowing. I'm gonna start calling Jason the foreshadowing guy. The foreshadowing guy. But yeah, so like here's where the movie lost me a little bit, but I eventually caught on and figured out what they were doing. But still, like I'm constantly questioning what Clint Eastwood's character is doing the entire movie. Like I don't know. I think it's finally when he realizes that Marisol is a captive, that he kind of changes. Like you have that guy who's just in it for the money that all of a sudden has a change in heart and has a conscience, you know?
Yeah. See, that was where I think I like watching this movie. The first hour of this movie or so, I feel like I could have fast forwarded all the way through it and started the movie at about 40 minutes left, and it would have been a good movie.
Yeah.
Because other than the whole shooting of the guns at the armor in the heart area, there wasn't too much that's going to tie into it later to me.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you don't have anything for the Clint Eastwood character. He's just a guy making money. Like, hey, I'm going to go over here and tell so-and-so this, and then they're going to go over here, and then I'm going to go tell so-and-so this and go over here. And that's all the whole beginning of the movie.
Well, I mean, all his scheming gets so many people killed too.
Yeah.
He does let that family get away, but his actions lead to a lot of people dying.
I mean, I guess that's really what they're setting up in the beginning of this is there's a family in trouble and this town is the purpose for it. And ultimately he does what I guess what his biggest impact was saving this family, because the people in the town, other than the barkeep and the coffin guy, are on his side. But
I love the coffin guy.
Yeah, so do I. And
how you call it, the coffin.
Exactly. But I mean, I guess that's simply how they're setting up the movie in the beginning is, he's going to save this family and this is how he's going to do it, because no one in this town is essentially a good person.
Well,
I mean, the innkeeper guy is pretty cool, or whatever is that guy's name.
Salvanito.
I like their little relationship.
Salvanito.
Yeah.
They end up having, they just kind of hang out together. It's kind of cool.
And that happens in a lot of these Westerns. You have the main guy, and you have a little comedy sidekick.
Yeah,
because he has a little bit of that in this, and along with Pipiero or some however you say, a coffin guy, Josh is going to call him. There's your little bit of comedy of a sidekick for the Joe character.
Yeah, and he probably has all the lines in this movie that are memorable. When Joe comes in and is eating and he's trying to get a lowdown on the town, he says, you
don't want to stay in this cemetery. Finish up and get out.
He's already established that everybody who comes here ends up, dead or evil in a way, or, so, and he continues to do stuff that makes me laugh throughout this. Like when they are putting the bodies in the cemetery.
It doesn't make a bit of sense to me, and I'm getting out. I'm alive and I want to remain with the living, understand? And when I'm dead, I'll want to remain with the dead, and I would be unhappy if somebody living forces me to remain with the living. I hope that's clear.
He's got a lot of lines in this movie that I'm cracking the fuck up at.
Yeah, that is a good line for sure. he's a fun presence because you've got the stranger who is very stoic, and he's not bringing the laughs by any means. So it's nice
he
to
has
have
a couple of lines in this movie I like.
Get 3 coffins ready.
Huh?
There's a few of them in here that I thought he did a pretty good job. I liked a little bit of humor, like the mule thing at the beginning of the movie. That's hilarious.
the mule line. I mean,
You see, my mule don't like people laughing. It's the crazy idea you're laughing at him.
it's so awesome to just watch a dude that is fully confident walk up to those dudes. And that's one thing, talking about the Red Dead Redemption game. In that game, you have like a system where you can kind of freeze time, and you can click where you want to shoot, and then when you pull the trigger, you have like that quick draw, and you can go ba 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 and like drop 5 dudes all at once, just like he does here. But
My mistake. 4 coffins.
Do you have a problem with the fact that everybody is a good shot? Like,
That's my problem, because I grew up around guns, shooting guns around here, and it's hard the size of a human being varies, it's hard to be running and shooting, but it's like everybody in a Western can shoot the tick off the back of a dog.
right.
Swear to God.
I know.
yeah, I mean, it's like Ramon says, the guy with the rifle has a massive advantage over the guy
With the pistol.
with the pistol, and in reality, that's true.
Yeah, you can shoot a rifle straighter than you can a pistol.
Yeah, but he's shooting he shoots the ropes off that gate that swings down and hits the guy in the head.
It's Chico in the head.
He shoots it from the hip.
Yeah.
He shoots 2 ropes, boom, boom.
Yeah.
From the hip. He doesn't even look down the sight. I mean, it's
That's
crazy.
what I'm getting at, is all the shots here are from the hip. And yeah, when he takes out the first batch of guys, it's just boom, 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 4 shots. They're all down. They're all dead. And it's like, okay, you're not that. I mean, I don't foresee anybody being that good of a shot. And it's
that's what I mean. Sure, but it's a movie, right? I mean,
I know it's a movie. We're supposed to suspend our disbelief, and not, it's a Western. This is the point of it, but still, it's just one of those things in my head that I'm like, nobody's that good of a shot.
No, nobody is that good of a shot. I mean,
and the fact
nobody can block lasers with a light sword either.
The Force is real, Eric, and you can go
Yes.
fuck yourself.
You just fucking go home and watch the rest of your Westerns. We're going to go watch Star Wars. Freaking
A space Western.
I want to know what I would like to see. We were talking about all, like you said, we're talking about guns and shooting. I would love to go, them to go back and let Robert Rodriguez get a hold of this movie and go put all the blood squibs in on all these people and see, because all these bullet holes going in people, no blood on the clothes or anything. You don't see anything come out. And I noticed there's a couple of shots. These guys are the best way that everybody gets shot. They hold their back.
Yeah.
There's a lot shot in the front. They're holding their back. Like, oh,
a lot of dudes get shot in the back on that scene where they take the gold.
Well, they're all running away. Of course they get shot.
But they're all doing the same exact thing. Like they're holding the same spot on their back. And I think a couple of shots got reused for a couple of the other guys. Like they said, okay.
Yeah, they are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, okay.
But this goes back. This goes back to what Jason was saying about being desensitized to shit like that and the violence and whatnot. Is because I'm used to seeing Django Unchained where blood squibs are going off like the fucking 4th of July.
Yeah.
And there's virtually no blood in any gunshot in this movie. You get more blood when they're beating him up in the
oh yeah,
whatever.
You get a little
room
blood
that
on
is.
Chico because the door slapped him in the face. He comes up, he's bleeding a little bit, but you get the most blood when they finally, like you said, he'd been going back and forth with the whole families, and then he found where the gold is because he's looking for the gold because he knew that they stole it. That's why he set him up with the Mexican soldiers in the grave. So like I said, it's almost like you kind of worry, like he's supposed to be the good guy, but he's not really the good guy. Like you said, he's getting a lot of people killed.
Yeah.
Just trying to make a fistful of dollars. And
this whole
I like that move though. You're right, morally wrong, but it's a great trick to put the 2 guys leaning up there. The Baxters are trying to get them so that they can out the Rojos. The Rojos are trying to kill them so that you just get everyone out of town so you can go look for the gold. I mean, it's a smart trick.
And the part I'm trying to understand is the Baxter, the John, I think he's a sheriff. He's a lawman.
Yeah,
And
but you know, at this
but-
point in time, like, oh, I'm the sheriff, and they're like, I don't give a fuck.
He was
you're the
still
sheriff.
smuggling. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
still smuggling stuff, and you know,
Yeah.
he wasn't being lawful. He was just saying he was a lawman.
He didn't even wear the badge. He had to pull it out of his pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
I'm
probably
the
killed the
sheriff.
sheriff and just took the thing, you know, off screen. He's probably not even the sheriff.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
The plan with the two dead bodies is a great plan, and I understand it. But the way it's executed in the movie and the way they're shooting, like, it's obvious that there are two dead people sitting on a grave. Like the first time you fire a shot and hit somebody and it doesn't do anything, like you would have to clue in on like something's fishy here. You know, most people run and scream when they get shot.
Well, they're in the middle of a gunfight. You know, they can't quite
Drink
tell
too
what's
much
going on.
tequila. That part where they go there and then he's riding back. And he's like, I'm cutting here. No, I'm behind you. And he's riding this way. Look, I'm over here. And I'm like,
And
is
so
it dark?
it's so blatantly not Clint Eastwood on that
Oh,
horse.
God.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it is like
These are unfair. These are unfair complaints.
They really are.
Let's keep it real here.
But you know, you brought up during all of this shit going on with the soldiers in the graveyard. He during this time is when he ends up taking Marisol over to the Baxters. What was the play there? Like I'm really confused on that.
He's still plotting to put them against each other, so they'll go ahead and kill each other because now the Baxters have Ramon's woman, so he figured they would do something and maybe he would just go
they're
ahead and
trading her for the son.
Oh,
Remember?
yeah. They trade him for Antonio because
That's the
during
confusing
shootout,
part.
they got Antonio.
I didn't understand, and my dad didn't either. We watched this together, like I said, but yeah, we were both very confused. Like, what is this handoff? Who is this? And then we realized, oh, that's
They captured him
the
during
Baxter's
the graveyard
boy.
Shootout.
Yeah, which I don't even recall seeing, but whatever.
Yeah, I was able to identify that the child was hers and all of that stuff going on. But yeah, I'm with you, Eric. I've watched it twice now, and you just clued me in to the fact that they had a Baxter captured, and
Yeah,
that's
that
what
was
the whole
that was
exchange was about.
Yeah, that's Antonio Baxter, the son.
So
Yeah, that wasn't super clear. I mean, these movies, I don't think were, you know, they were made pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think that not a ton of thought, you know, as we dissect everything. I didn't, I want to correct me if I'm wrong, but Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more, and
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
and The Good, Bad, the Ugly all came out in like consecutive years, right? They were made like all really close together.
64, 65, 66.
Yeah,
because
so-
when they came to America, we got all three movies at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like there's like, they're going rewriting scripts and making sure
Yeah.
everything's tight, you know, like they're flying by the seat of their pants over here.
Man, Clint Eastwood just moved to Italy for 3 years. He just stayed there. All right, we're done with this one. Okay. Move
Next.
on to the next. Let's get these movies done. So, and then we're done with these. Let's do High Plains Drifter and Outlaw Josie Wells. Let's just keep it going.
Well, we haven't mentioned, you know, we talked briefly about, you know, how Ramon is this like legendary gunshot, and he talks to Joe about a particular Winchester rifle that he loves.
When you want to kill a man, you must shoot for his heart, and the Winchester is the best weapon. When a man with a 45 meets a man with a rifle, the man with a pistol will be a dead man.
In the beginning of this.
The great Mexican proverb.
And you know, for people that listen to our show and have heard, my last name is Browning, so therefore, you know, Browning rifles and whatnot, and hunting and all that stuff. And then watching this movie, and Jason brought up, my mom married a gentleman with the last name Winchester. So
He can't get away from it.
I can't get away from names that are guns in my family for whatever reason. But my dad is not quite a jokester, but he loves to make the joke. Yeah, me and your mom got together and had a son of a gun. Like, God,
You didn't mention your sister AR-15.
And that's my other girl over there. That's AK-47.
This is my little boy. His name is Uzi.
Go
We call him Lil
over there.
Uzi.
Little Uzi.
Lil Uzi. That's a new rapper name right there, Lil Uzi. Here we go.
Come on, little Uzi.
Oh God. Ooh. I need to drink more of this tequila.
Ultimately, you know, this trade-off doesn't end the way they want it to.
Yeah, the handoff goes as it's intended to.
Yeah.
So what led to him riding out to the outskirts where they've got her? I'm forgetting
Josh,
what happened.
you watched this movie
twice.
Yeah, dude, he went out there because he knew that's where they were keeping her, and he went out there and killed all the Rojo men, and then got her because remember he shot him on. Then he starts tossing the place. It looked like there was a big brawl,
and he throws a goddamn machete into a dude.
I saw this and I went,
that's a freaking throw, dude.
That's where Jason Voorhees got that from. He watched this movie as a child.
that's where Dutch from Predator got that shit from. Remember that?
Little Jason Voorhees sitting there watching movie.
He helps her, takes her over to Julio and her son, gives them that money and tells them just to get out of town. And that's where you said he gets a little bit of a conscience. And he said, "Why are you helping?" He says, "Well, I had a friend of mine in the same situation, and they wanted to help him out."
See, I got to keep that in mind now too, considering that The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly might be a prequel to this.
Yeah. Is he talking about another guy?
Yeah, because is that character in that movie?
I don't think so.
If
memory Eric, serves, I don't think so. But
thanks for fucking ruining my dreams, Eric.
It's been a minute. I don't know. I can't remember.
But then you get, like I said, the whole chasing horse.
It's pretty funny.
They don't even see him. It's literally like a freaking Looney Tunes cartoon.
I was gonna say they had to have spoofed this in a movie somewhere at some point. I haven't ever seen it, but this looks like the prime candidate for something that they could spoof in a Western.
Did they do that in that? Was it that movie? Was it like Seth MacFarlane, The 1,000 Ways to Die in the West?
I didn't see that one.
That was one of the only movies I have ever turned off partially through and not finished.
Wow.
It was brutal.
Well, we're doing Westerns. You need to watch that one.
We're not doing that one.
That'll be Jason's pick for a Western when we do Westerns next time.
No, you know goddamn well what Jason's pick will be for Westerns. And that's Tombstone, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tombstone.
I love Tombstone.
I love Tombstone. Yeah. But, he gets back, and like I said, he's got away with the whole thing with the Baxter and Rojos back and forth, and he's obviously hauled ass back there. He goes in when he's all sweaty, turns around, boom, Ramon, gun in his face. He's busted. The whole thing is over with.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, this is why I like. I mean, like I said, from that 40-minute mark when all this stuff starts to go downhill, that's when I actually enjoyed some of this movie.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't really enjoy it, but it gets better from that point
really
on.
Enjoy it. I don't want to oversell it.
I didn't enjoy it per se as much as I did tolerate it.
It's kind of like going to the dentist when they give you the medicine, it knocks you out. You're like, you don't have it. It's better at that point.
Well, I mean, you say that. I think this scene where they're beating the shit out of him in the cellar is, or whatever that is, the
wine cellar,
the alcohol shed.
Yep.
I think this is all great, right. And this really gives me like Reservoir Dogs vibes, because of that ramp. Reservoir Dogs mostly takes place in that one room. And it's got that ramp that goes up into the room. So, for whatever reason, I thought about that scene. Those scenes from Reservoir Dogs while they're in here doing this stuff. I don't know why. Maybe it's
the good thing here is our untouchable cowboy is finally vulnerable.
Yeah,
and his ass handed to him.
Yeah, and I think if you had this movie and you never had this, it wouldn't be as effective. But yeah, I mean, our guy who has been just completely cool as a cucumber, messing with everybody, getting people killed, is finally like he can't even walk. I really like this escape. I like him getting beat down. I love when he rolls he goes full Donkey Kong on these guys, rolls a barrel at him.
That's my favorite part of this movie. That is my favorite part of this movie. That giant fucking barrel smashing into those dudes.
That is a huge barrel of tequila. It had been tequila. So
I love that shit. I think so.
Sorry, we're in Italy. It was probably like wine of some sort. I don't know. It could have been olive oil. I don't know.
Prosecco. It was limoncello.
There we go. But but I noticed when it exploded, it's like I kept going back. There wasn't a ton of liquid in it.
I don't know if there was any liquid in it,
but it killed Chico and his buddy. And I'm like, I used to make rum for a living, and those oak barrels. I mean, this was a bigger barrel. They're not that heavy.
An empty one, no, would not kill you. Yeah.
But because when it hits him, and it isn't like, 300 gallons of fluid fell out of it when it hit him. It didn't. So
no, I think that's
a
just
little over exaggerated on.
Yeah, you got to let that
by...
go. That's just, it's an old movie. But
it's an old movie.
Yeah, it's an old. I like though the his escape. I like how close he is to getting caught multiple times. He's just around the corner. He's listening. He wants to know what they're about to do, and then he can't even walk. He barely gets under the porch before they come out, and he's just under the slats of the wood. And I mean, all that stuff is great tension. I like that. And he needs help to get out of town. He has to go Tony Stark it in the mine for a while.
Yeah. That's the thing. I was gonna say, I even wrote this. Is this the longest crawl scene in Hollywood history? Because it goes on forever. Forever.
Wolf of Wall Street comes to mind. Pretty long crawl scene.
He needed more Quaaludes.
Far better crawling scene in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, yeah, I can agree to that.
But I like that he uses the coffin builder to get away. I thought that was pretty clever. But it seems weird that why would the coffin guy stop in the middle of the road and watch all this shit going on? Like, he has no good reason to.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there.
He has no reason to leave town in the middle of the night with a coffin either.
True.
It's a little suspect.
Yeah,
it's not like there's traffic going in and out of town and you can just kind of get in with traffic. I mean, there's nobody there, and it's like you're looking for a man.
It's rush hour right now. Yeah. I can just blend in.
You're literally killing the whole town looking for a man, and there's the Undertaker is suspiciously leaving town with one coffin.
Yeah, I mean, like, literally the whole Rojo family is out there shooting every Baxter person walking, even shoot Miss Baxter. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, it's a massacre.
Yeah, like when I first saw it, I was like, because I have that in my mind. And when I read the stuff about that, they were talking about this movie's a little graphic. Well, when she walks out, I was like, okay, we're gonna get like these guys are gonna do something to Miss Baxter type thing, because they're all the way they all look at her. You're like, this is gonna get, and then Esteban just shoots her. Boom.
Yeah.
Not even Ramon, but Esteban does. So I'm like, but I do have a problem. I like, did the MCU steal this scene in the cave for Iron Man here? But the problem also, because I mean, he's shooting this piece of metal with the bullet with his gun, and he knows it. And then he's got the hammer, and he's beating on it. And then the next scene we got is a perfectly cut square out of the freaking steel that a bullet won't go through. Did somebody just show up with a torch and he just cut it out of nowhere? Or did he just use a sharp rock and just keep going, how could you do this?
Yes, that's exactly what I had wrote down. I was like, how the fuck did he cut this piece of metal out of this thing?
That's what I want to know. Eric, fill us in.
I'll tell you. Well, he was in a mine. So, maybe there were some tools there that he could use to do that with. I don't know. Also, Tales of Suspense number 39 came out in March 1963. So Tony did it first.
There you go.
I still like this, and I like the concept. I do think that
it's dynamite. I stole it from the Rojos. And now it seems to me the moment's come for you to light the fuse and send it back to them.
He does it too many times. Shoot me in the heart. Shoot me in the heart. He keeps getting up.
Why the fuck wouldn't you shoot him in the head?
Yeah, after he gets up, like he's empty. He tricks him. They just go to that well a few too many times. They want Ramon to empty his clip so that they can do the standoff with you have to reload your gun or whatever. But
you should have gone for the head.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a few too many times. I would have liked to see him
because you think
fall down and then get up and go blam, I got you, I outsmarted you. But he does it so many times and you're just like, really, Ramon?
It's like it really degrades Ramon's character, because like anybody who has shot someone that many times and gotten back up, you would have to think, well, I need to shoot this fucker in the head if I want him to go down.
Well, not only that, we have and I'm going to say it, foreshadowing of the suit of armor.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a suit of armor.
And there's actually
and then
a
he
heart
uses
shape. Yes, there's a heart shape.
Yes, he shoots a heart shape in it. He says always aim for the heart.
Yeah.
So it's setting it up, which is fine. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, for a man that has target practice on a suit of armor, you shoot a man multiple times in the chest, he gets back up. What do you think? Maybe Ramon is a superstitious guy, but he seems like a really smart dude.
Right.
Joe has turned into Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
He just keeps getting up.
He just keeps getting up.
Hard. It was the machete.
He's throwing machetes. He's bulletproof, but
and you know, I mean, I like that you just said that Ramon's smart. Like that's the other thing that surprised me about this is I'm thinking that these are just going to be stupid, dumb villains in this that we're up against. But no, like Ramon is a smart guy.
Yeah.
He plays his cards pretty close to his chest throughout this. And, you know, that's the one thing about him that does get me in the end is like, okay, yeah, they set up this whole heart thing. But after that many shots, yeah, it goes on too long. It's like, okay, just boom, headshot, you're done. Like, why would you keep doing that over and over again? Is it just is it the pride factor? I don't know, but
okay. All right. This is my thing. All right. He shoots him 7 times. He moves his little poncho to the side. He shows that he has the steel plate. Throws it on the ground, right? Okay. At this time, Esteban's he's probably like it's a superstitious guy. There are 4 other guys with guns standing right next to him. That's 24 bullets. If you're shooting a 6-shooter, that they could have shot him at any given time.
Well, I mean, you're right. But that's the thing that we're setting up here is there's the main bad guy, the main good guy, and you've got this face off. And I like the performance from what's his name? Gian Maria Volante, the Ramon guy.
Yeah, the Ramon.
I think he's great. You know, Josh, you're talking about having like a smart antagonist. Lee Van Cleef in I hope I'm saying that right. In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is awesome too. Like he's really cool.
Cool.
Yeah. I think you'll like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly more probably.
Yeah, I like I said, I've seen all 3 of them, and they kind of intertwine. I can mix up together, but I'll know when I'm watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it is. I think I even like the score. I mean, like I say, you get the XC gold type thing, but.
I'm honestly that in going through this trilogy, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most because that's the that's the one everybody talks about the most. But I want to see what led to that. So of course
you got to take the natural progression to get there.
Yeah,
what's going to happen? We are dangerously close to our. What's going to happen if we watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and we do our Good, the Bad, the Ugly segment? I mean, will the world implode?
No, through the whole episode, every time Eric says something, he's gonna go, through the whole damn episode. Every time when somebody says good, bad, and ugly, we're just gonna have to cut those clips in through the whole thing. That's awesome.
So I was on Not a Bomb yesterday, and I had mentioned our Good, the Bad, and the Ugly segment. And when I did, Brad went, "Why?"
Yes. Thank you, Brad.
So it's catching on.
It's catching on. It's sweeping the nation.
But and I mentioned this earlier. We were talking about the cinematography and Sergio Leone's shots.
Oh yeah.
This is my favorite shots of the movie. Is the close-up wide shot of the eyes and nose of Joe, and then over to Ramon.
Yeah.
I love
and everyone,
the
of course.
look.
Yeah,
that looks great. And then every Western after this did that.
Well, everyone thinks Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with that, because you've got that same thing that happens
with all 3 of them.
All 3 of them. But yeah, I was actually, this being my first watch of this, I was like, oh, he did it in this one too. I didn't even know that. But
and that's kind of
why we're here to learn.
That's what he's kind of known for. Like you go and you search up his notes, his shots of these close.
You got super wide shots, and then you've got super close shots. Yeah, and I like getting up close to these, like we talk about the polish of the older Westerns, it shows how sweaty and dirty these guys
they
are.
haven't shaved in like a week.
It's just a little grimy. It's a little gritty. And it really you're looking right into their eyes. It's great. I love that too, Jay.
That's a good shot. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite shots. Other than I thought it was kind of a useless shot of the close-up shot of boots. I was like, does he have a foot fetish? There's a shot in the movie where it's just zoomed in on boots. And I'm like, and it stays there for like way too long. And I'm like, okay, we know he's wearing boots. It's a Western. He's got boots and he's got spurs. Yes, we know this. Let's move
Another
on.
interesting thing to see is when Ramona's dying, you get a POV shot.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting for,
Yeah.
That's not anywhere else in the film, but all of a sudden, Ramona's dying, I guess. And
Don't we feel
get
like
a
they
POV.
wasted an opportunity for him to fall down the well?
Maybe.
I thought that's what was going to happen, but it didn't. I don't know. Maybe they subverted my expectations by making me think it was going to happen and it didn't. I don't know, but that's what I was expecting.
Well, that's not good. You don't want to spoil the water.
No.
Yeah.
Well, nobody
fish him out right away.
Nobody's left in this town to drink the water at this point, except for the barkeep and the coffin builder.
Well, they got to drink water.
No, they can drink it. They can drink all the tequila and stuff that's in the bar.
Yeah,
They'll be fine.
Tequila. Yeah. I mean, now that all the Rojos done, they had a whole alcohol shed, liquor shed out there. They just go get all that.
So they established that the Mexican army comes back and gets their gold, right? They mentioned that in the end. Or somebody.
Yeah, when the Mexican army comes back to get their gold, and then the U.S. Army shows up too.
So he walks away from all of this with no money. Am I right?
I think he
seems
still has
so.
some.
Yeah.
I mean,
he might have some, but he certainly, he didn't take the treasure or anything like that. Yeah, he gives a sack of money to Marisol, and he leaves the other money. So I assume he just takes what he needs, or
because he that's the whole thing between him and the barkeep in the entire movie is I don't have what I need to pay you for
Does the
this
barkeep
bowl.
ever get paid?
I think that's what I'm thinking is like what money he did have left, he paid him, and he left town with no money.
Speaking of the money, and it's just a little side note, when the Baxter woman pays him the money at the beginning of the movie, dude, she hands him a dollar bill and it's this big.
Yeah, huge.
Like they're like a 12 inches by 4.5, 5 inch tall bills because he's
big
holding
money.
And I'm like, that's why it's a fistful of dollars. It's like $5, but it's like 8 pounds of paper.
But no, Eric, you brought up how they are dirty and sweaty in this, and it looks old and grungy and whatnot. Have you seen that movie, The Proposition? It's more of a modern.
I have, yeah.
With the guy.
Yeah, you want to talk
Pierce.
grimy?
Oh,
that
dude,
movie's grimy as shit.
Dude, the flies in that movie they used flies to the utmost extent in that movie, dude. Like, the amount of flies that are in it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a dirty movie. I like that movie. I remember liking. I don't remember much about it, but
yeah, I don't remember much about the story, but I remember that was the biggest thing I remember about that movie is it was fucking grimy and those flies were everywhere. So if anybody wants to watch a grimy Western movie, check out The Proposition with Guy Pearce. That one's
when you say a bunch of flies, all I think of is was it Amityville Horror when they're in the room and the flies totally take over the priest. That's like millions of flies. So.
Yeah, this is an uncomfortable amount of flies in this one as well. But all right, well, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about Fistful of Dollars. Ultimately, like, I enjoyed watching this. This was a lot better than Once Upon a Time in the West for me. People would probably crucify me for saying that, but I found this to be a lot more enjoyable, and I had, it is slowly paced there for a little while, but ultimately it gets to a pace that I can hang with. And again, I wasn't disappointed by the fact that Clint Eastwood didn't talk a lot because he does actually have, a good handful of dialogue in the movie. And other than being, and other than being a little confused at some of the story beats, I had a good time watching this. I'm anxious to watch the next one and definitely anxious to watch Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, man.
So what did you think of it, Eric?
Yeah, same. I enjoyed it. I just like the atmosphere. I just like being there. I did get confused a few times, and I honestly I felt the length occasionally, but for the most part, I'm so like curious and interested in gobbling up all these old Westerns that I'm really trying to make an effort, because I really enjoy the atmosphere. I just like all of it. I like the guns and the clothes and the desert and the horses. I don't know, man. I need to move to Texas. Jason.
I got a place for you, dude. I got a bedroom right here. You can come stay at, and I can hook you up with horses and everything.
Yeah.
So
sweet.
I think this was the equivalent of like us growing up watching Rambo or Predator or Commando. Like we saw that era of action movie where like they were loaded to the gills with guns and they were unstoppable. And, you know, this is what our fathers had to watch. That was their Commando back then. So, yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I think this is even, okay. I think my dad watched even older stuff than this, like you say. But I just love this era of film, 60s and 70s. There's so much of it I haven't seen, and I just want to see everything, you know.
And I started doing a deep dive into Hitchcock a few years back, and that was an aspect of cinema I never had watched before. So first time watching Psycho, first time watching The Birds and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, you have to go into that stuff knowing that it's aged and you're probably going to be disconnected from what the way the filmmaking was back then. But I mean, especially something like Hitchcock, I'm able to get drawn right into the story there. I think he's done good with doing good story beats in those movies that still bring people into them. Like Psycho is one of the best movies ever, in my opinion. So
sure, yeah.
But and I think it would be me getting to know these Westerns a little bit more before I could claim that they're part of something like that for me. But so far, this movie's doing a good job of keeping me curious about it. So.
Right on.
Eventually, we'll watch another one when Jason is done whining and crying about having to watch this one.
The Western section.
The Western section. Let us know in the comments if you want us to talk about more Westerns, and then we'll just put it all on the. It'll be all on the viewers then. So therefore, Jason can't blame me or Eric for wanting to watch a Western on the show.
That's right.
All right, Jason. What were the taglines for Fistful of Dollars?
Oh, okay. I kind of think that maybe in the 60s, they still were a little long-winded, some of their taglines. So I didn't write them all down because there was about 8 of them. But I'm also kind of thinking over the years and since this movie, they've added
probably, yeah.
It. But as usual, I will read the great writers of Hollywood's taglines, and I will throw in my good Texas taglines.
I'm anxious to hear what he came up with on his own on this one.
Dude, it was hard because, you know, I wasn't really thrilled about having to do a Western.
Fucking boring Western.
Okay.
Come watch this boring ass Western.
This is the man with no name. Danger fits him like a glove.
Ooh.
I think you wrote that.
I think it's real.
Josh is right. I did not write that one.
I'm never going to get one of these right.
Death has no name.
I like that, but I think you wrote that.
I think you wrote it too. Yeah,
I did. I liked it. You guys liked it. I that was like the first one I came up with.
That's a good one.
Let's see. A town where everyone is rich or dead.
I'm going to say
sounds real.
I'm going to say that's real.
That is real. You guys are getting too good.
Yeah.
Eric, I mean, Josh is ahead of you at this point, but
I know.
It said, in his own way, he is perhaps the most dangerous man who ever lived.
That's real.
That's real.
Yeah. And I'll just go ahead and say this last one. I think you guys, you know what? He's just the man in the middle.
That was bad.
You know what?
that was
a bad one. I know.
You know what?
I wanted to. I want to throw another one in there. So, but what was funny when I said that, all I could think is, he's just a man in the mirror. But I was like, he's just a man in the middle.
Yeah, I thought that too, actually.
See,
when you said that, it crossed my mind.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, I dude, Death has no name. I was like, I should have wrote the tagline for this damn movie. I like it.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I like that.
I
think
get
that tattooed on yourself. Death has no name
on my ass.
It's just a cool. Well, I don't know.
So of all the taglines, I mean, is that the best one, or do you?
That's
I like yours the best.
That's the best manufactured one so far. And yeah, out of all the ones you just told me, I think that would be a better tagline for the movie.
I like the rich or dead one, but
yeah, a town where everyone is rich, and then it's like ... or dead, because they kind of say it at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
the one guy that runs up to him, which we never seen again in the movie. So, but that's taglines.
Alrighty.
Taglines.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Why?
You're right. That's going to be really weird. All right. Well, Eric, I think you were the most gung-ho about this movie, so I'll let you start Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
I'm gonna say the direction just because it's so influential and it's just so great to look at. And secondly, Clint's hair is incredible.
Wow.
Clint's hair is amazing in this movie. No apologies.
I like that. I like that poncho he's wearing, to be honest.
It is. I want one. Got to keep the sun off you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
White guy in Mexico, you gotta stay out of the sun. So my bad. Too many shots at the plate. That's my bad. And then my ugly is whoever did the voice for the kid.
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
Oh, dude, that's on my ugly. Dude. Oh, Daddy, play Tarzan. Mama. Oh, my God.
Mama. It's a mama. Papa, I want to see the mama.
You hear like, They literally had like a 20-year-old man just like, here, just make these noises for this kid.
Who should we have do the child voice? I'll do it. Mama!
Yeah, the guy they got from Germany to do it. Yeah, the one German guy on set did the boy's voice. There you go.
Oh, I look up and Jason's going, Mama!
Not the mama. Not the mama.
Jason, I don't know if I want to hear this, but give me your good, the bad, and the ugly.
The only good, because I mean, I'm not trying to utterly dog it. It's just a personal thing of being force-fed these Westerns my whole life. That when Josh and them said they want to do this, I literally was like, fuck a bunch of Westerns. I've seen them all. I don't want to do this, but we do a show about movies. So that's what we're doing. So I'm going to do this. I'm not going to just totally destroy it like I did Life Force. And
Life Force is a movie. Life Force is also a movie. Okay.
It has no part of cinematic history where these movies kind of do.
Jason,
it could disappear and it would not hurt anything.
All right,
Jason,
so give it to us, Jason.
The whole reason this podcast is a thing is so you can put your opinion out there on the internet for people to like or dislike. So if you don't like something, just come on the show and say you don't like it. It's not that hard.
No, I'm going to get to that part. But the thing, and I mentioned it earlier.
No, we're talking about Fistful Dollars, not the thing.
Yeah.
Come on.
I love this. The like I said, the cinematography, the Sergio Leone's use of the camera, and the ultra close-ups. That's what I was talking about earlier, because that is my good of the movie. Because he does do them throughout the, a few dollars more, and then the good, the bad, and the ugly. Those are the ones I remember the most. I didn't, like I said, watching this, I didn't remember a lot of it, but I do remember more of the other two, I believe. That's my favorite part, is just that. And of course the score.
Yes.
It's, to me, the score gets better as the movies go on. Because this seemed a little lacking, but it was cool because, I mean, it's still.
I thought you were going to say it gets better as the movie goes on, because when you hit that climax at the end, the horns going off, that shit is awesome.
Yeah.
I meant to mention that back when we were talking about that, but yeah, when the horns really like kick in at the end, oh man, it is dope. Go ahead.
My bad is, I think it takes too long for it to even get good and get to the better part of the story. It is a lot of just like, I could have slept. I mean, literally through the first hour or so of this, because all it is him just poking fun at both of them. And then you actually get to some meat of the story. But my ugly is, it's still a Western. I'm not a fan of these movies, and the dubbing is horrible. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, I'm just not a fan of Westerns. They're not my forte of movie. There are a couple Westerns I do like you said, Young Guns and Tombstone, but I think that's because I had the choice to watch them because I was older. So these movies that I saw repeated over and over and over again, it's just kind of like country music growing up here. You're force-fed it. I don't want to listen to country music. Are there people I respect in that? Yes. Do I respect Clint Eastwood and Sergio Leone for making these movies? Yes, I have respect, but it doesn't mean that I like the genre of film.
True. It's like the Beatles. You don't like the Beatles, so you don't listen to the Beatles, but you respect what the Beatles are.
I respect what the Beatles did because, everybody, the whole rock and roll thing, even though Muddy Waters and all of them really.
Okay, shut up. You were on a roll.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that earlier. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole of same with film. I mean, you go down the rabbit hole of what influenced Leone and Kurosawa, and you can just keep going, which is what makes it so fun. I mean, I love just going down that rabbit hole of art and just watching influence and seeing how that's great stuff.
I just know that Josh likes those hippies, in the Beatles. As they would call them back, those darn hippies from across the pond. So the Beatles, you still got to respect.
Hey, the Beatles showed love
to
their influences as well. I would say
exactly, definitely. Sure. So I just pick with Josh. So.
All right, my good is going to be. I mean, I think Clint Eastwood's really good in this, especially for it being his first, feature film. I know he had done TV before this, but he was. I don't know. I don't know enough about the TV stuff he did, which was primarily westerns, I believe.
I think he was on Gunsmoker or something like that.
And bringing and Rawhide too, I think.
And
but I don't know how much of that he brought over into this character. I don't know if the characters he did on TV could be equal to this or completely different. But I think what he does here is very good. And again, like that was one of my biggest things going into this movie that I thought was going to be a downside is I didn't think I would get enough out of him, but I think he's really good in this.
I just quick note that I didn't get to in the show, as we were talking, but apparently he was not a smoker, and he felt like the foul taste of the cigar in his mouth helped him kind of get in character. I guess.
And I can totally see that.
And you can tell he doesn't look like he's enjoying it.
Right.
And I want to notice before that, dude, right here in these movies, and I noticed it, dude, his son Scott looks just like him at this age.
I have to go look at it.
Who the hell is Scott Eastwood? Do I know who Scott Eastwood is?
Dude,
hold on. Maybe I'm just.
I couldn't tell you a movie he's in.
He's actually in his movie Gran Torino. He shows up in that. He was the CIA or FBI guy in one of the Fast and Furious movies. I think he's in 2 of those movies.
He's in the first Suicide Squad movie. He's in the Fate of the Furious, Pacific Rim Uprising.
He looks like him from this age. So.
Yeah, I'll have to go take a look at it. I know.
Yeah, I'm looking at him on right now, and he does.
But my bad would be all the trigger happy people in westerns. I just think it's silly.
Well, what's crazy is if they were that trigger happy, you really would entire cities would be gone because like you're killing 40-year-old men left and right. It's like all you have left is widows.
Yeah,
and children.
There's only 50 people in this town, and by the end, it is. But it's a hyper reality.
Right.
You would have Why the Last Man because all the men would be dead except for the guy who's the best shot.
Yeah.
So.
And my other bad is going to be the guy with the laugh. What's his name? Esteban? Yeah. Yeah. I Esteban is terrible. I don't like him at all in this. And then the ugly would just be the overdubbing. But I mean, that's kind of I can't really knock the movie on that because it was a technical thing that they had to do back in those days.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I can't really dog the movie too much for that, but it is, I mean, if I was going to say anything in this movie is ugly in that regard, I would say the overdubbing and just everybody's dirty and nasty looking. That's kind of ugly, but
your face is
have
ugly.
You guys ever seen, what's that movie with, the Something Brothers? It's a recent Western.
The Sisters Brothers, I think.
Yeah, the Sisters Brothers.
I haven't watched it.
Is it the Sisters Brothers?
I think so. It's got Joaquin Phoenix and a comedian. What comedian?
John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
That's a pretty. Jake Gyllenhaal's in it too, and Riz Ahmed, and Rutger Hauer, and Carol Kane.
Wow. That's a stat cast, man.
Yeah, it really is. I watched it on a plane one time, and it was pretty good. It's pretty dark, but it's funny because in that movie, which I think takes place a little later than this one, but it's probably early 1900s or something. But, John, they go to a store and he learns about a toothbrush and he buys a toothbrush and his brother's giving him crap. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? And he's like, he wants to start brushing his teeth because he meets a guy who has a toothbrush and he's impressed by it. But it's pretty funny, just thinking about, I mean, everyone's teeth look way too good in this movie for the era there. Their teeth should be rotting out of their damn heads, especially Clint's chewing on that cigar all the time.
That's it.
I forgot about one thing I wanted to ask you guys about. So there's this whole showdown with he and fucking not Esteban, Ramon, and it's the whole thing where he unloads his gun and he gives Ramon a bullet, so he's got to load his rifle. When Joe loads his gun, he spins the barrel and closes it.
Yep.
So he didn't even know where his bullet landed in the revolver.
No. He does know. That's how badass of a gunslinger he is.
Yeah,
he spins the damn thing and goes pop. He knows exactly when it's going to drop in there.
Okay.
I'll stand by that.
It's really fucking cool. Don't get me wrong. It's just that's what I thought about when I saw it. I was like, so he didn't even know where the bullet landed? Oh, shit.
Oh, he knew. He knew.
Oh, he knows.
Oh, he knows.
All right.
He knows.
Well, I'd have to say, for an episode that had a little bit of controversy between the three of us about wanting to do a Western on the show, I think this turned out to be a pretty damn good episode.
It was fun. It was fun. It's fun to visit something new, something out of the ordinary for us. And, we're not by any means experts on the subject, but maybe hopefully it'll be a fun conversation.
That's right.
It was fun for me.
So, and I would actually motion that we need to do the next two movies on the show as well. Maybe not tomorrow, so Jason can get over watching this one. But
dude, I'm having PTSD.
We'll spread them out.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our conversation about Fistful of Dollars. Let us know in the comments if you liked our conversation, if there's anything that we said that you think we're being idiots about or have no knowledge about, because like we said, we are not experts at the Western genre. So we'd like to interact with you in the comments section, and please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe when we're putting out new videos, subscribe to our podcast so that way we're putting out new episodes there. And until next time, be kind.
Rewind.
Yeehaw! Get the fuck out.
You've been listening to the VHS Files podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks. You've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies!
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos!
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative!
Thanks for listening.
Don't worry, I didn't dirty the sheets.
Gross.
Wait a minute. The Baxter Building. Anyway.